Come on. Welcome in. I appreciate y'all. So, real quick, this is beautiful. This is Master My Mindset, where we go live every single Wednesday, where we talk about things that just help us in our head, help us in our heart, help us in our home from the masculine and feminine perspective. And I feel like now is a beautiful time for us to be diving into topics like this, because with the world going crazy, going left, going right, going up, going down, who are we to step into who we are so we can be sound in our decisions, sound in our mind, sound in our heart, and sound in our bodies, in our beings. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know YouTube is clear. Hey, if TikTok glitching, we can get up off this mug and just be YouTube and Google Meet. You know what I'm saying? I did this for accessibility reasons, but hey, if they don't want to cooperate, they can get the boot. But yes, I thank you all for being here. Hey, my boy Lawrence coming in. I thank you all for being here. So we're going to hop straight into the presentation today. Peace, bro. I'm diving right into the presentation. You made it. And for those who are tuning in, we're going to have a question session at the end. So for probably like the last 30 or so, 15 to 30 minutes, we'll allow time for questions. But until then, we hop straight into conversation for today. So title is, if you're only trying to fix it, you're probably making it worse. If you're only trying to fix it, you're probably making it worse. What does that mean? So many times in life, we want to just be the handyman or the handy woman in our life and be like, oh, I could fix that. Oh, I could fix that. And it's these small leaks. And it's like you think it's something that's insignificant. And if you feel like if you just solve that one problem, you're good. But a lot of times there's a deeper issue beneath the surface that has roots in our emotional connections. So today we're going to talk about the feminine aspect. Next week, we'll talk about the masculine aspect. And the reason why we're talking about the feminine aspect is because it's internal. Internally, it deals with our emotions, our spiritual, our thoughts. Internal is everything we do that helps us create the decisions. Our internal is our subconscious. That's the 88%. And this is not me knocking on the masculine, yet there's more power in our subconscious than it is our conscious. And when we're able to shift our subconscious to the conscious, now we're becoming whole, we're becoming more full, we're becoming more one and complete in our decision-making process. Yet in order to get to that, we have to address the sub, which is the feminine. So today we're going to go on a journey of growth and transformation. Instead of trying to simply eliminate life's challenges, we're going to learn to harness them for personal development. Sound cool? All right, let's get it. So I was having some thoughts and doing some research. And in the process of me on the weekends, I host this call called Shine Your Shade, where we go through the shadow work of different negative emotions and things that we feel. And it hit me that every valley has a peak and every peak has a valley. You know, when you're looking at different mountains, if you ever been to Arizona, and in order to get to the Grand Canyon, you're in Phoenix or you're coming from some type of area, but 9 times out of 10, it's a valley. It's a low point. It's a point where everything is at a certain level, a certain vibration. And in order to get to the mountaintop, in order to get to whatever you feel your destination is, or your accomplishments are, or your trophies and your winnings are, you have to go through the valley first. Because every valley has a peak and every peak has a valley, because that is the natural process of the way life turns. It's a consistent up and down process. And in this, I was like, oh, I see, like the valleys, they represent our voids and our peaks represent our values. Because a lot of times when folks are going through childhood traumas, which is where a lot of trauma is stored, we consider those as voids, things that we didn't get, things that we got abused with, things that were neglected, things that were dysfunctional. Yet the moment that we can see it from the perspective of our values come from our voids, then we're able to see the voids from a different perspective. Meaning that our voids are what we feel like we missed out on. Like if you were abused, you missed out on someone nurturing you. If you were neglected, you missed out on someone paying you attention. If you were in dysfunction, you missed out on a harmonious, healthy family dynamic growing up. Which if you're melanated, I know you got one of those three. And if you don't, well, hey, welcome. You're about to learn something today. But 9 times out of 10, most of us that are melanated, we go through one of those experiences. And it's natural because those voids make way for our values. So usually what was a void for us as a child ends up being what we value in our adolescence, young adulthood, and as we grow older. Is what we want in our lives. So if you didn't receive physical touch, you want to be touchy-feely with the folks you love. If you didn't receive quality time, that's one of your main love languages. If you didn't receive acts of service, you might be people pleasing to make sure people know that they see you, they value you, so you can learn to value yourself. And last week we talked about it, like how people pleasing can lead to procrastination, perfectionism, and things of that nature. Yet there's another side to it. You know, the people pleasing, that aspect is the negative aspect of it. But there's an aspect of it that can actually be beautiful when we learn how to shift the perspective, shift the energy, and then shift how we perform in that energy. So valleys are considered our struggles. They have a hidden potential for growth. We can find strength, resilience, and wisdom through difficult times. And our peaks, this growth allows us to reach new heights and understanding of self-awareness, ultimately leading us to our transformation. And that's exactly what I've been going through. You know, as I'm learning new belief system, as I'm incorporating subconscious work, I'm learning that the transformation is in the process. It's not about, oh, tomorrow I'm going to be completely different. It's how can I make intentional shifts every single day? Literally over a month ago, me and T, we recorded these meditations for ourselves, yet also for the group program that we're hosting. And it wasn't until yesterday, I'm like, man, we've been sitting on these meditations. I need these for myself because I'm in the state now. I am so diligent with the work I do with my subconscious because I know when I'm dreaming, when I'm resting, when I'm in default mode, that's where I'm making my decisions from, is the subconscious. So if I can reprogram my subconscious with my own voice, oh, we on and popping. We on and popping. I'm not able to share the results yet because I'm still going through the process. But best believe, like last night was the first night where I recorded, mixed, edited, and I got a private link to where I listen to myself speaking affirmations over myself as I rest and as I rise and as I rest. So those are the things that are going into my brain when I'm not conscious. Things that I am safe, I am strong, I am well, I am wise, I am love, I am truth, I am peace, I am me. Simple affirmations that allow me to really dig into the root of who I am and who I want to be. So how do we embrace the value of struggle in our head, in our heart, and in our home? Peace, peace. Welcome in, Empress. How we value these struggles in our heads is seeing them as opportunities for growth and transformation. It's all about our perception and our perspective. See, our perception is how we see it. It's like, oh, the sky is blue. Oh, the snow is white. Oh, the grass is green. That's a perception. Our perspective is, oh, the grass is green, but the grass is muddy and it's dirty and it got bugs. Or the grass is where the garden lives and I'm able to grow things. It's how we build beliefs off of our perception. The bridge between perception and perspective is our belief systems and what we believe about what we see. The difference in the bridge, because they're one and the same. Our differences are also our bridges. And that's like one of the main themes of today is in our head, it's all about how we see things. And you might be taught to perceive it from a perspective that no longer serves you. So although your perception might be skewed, how can you now shift your perspective that bridges back to your perception? That void is really a value. which really is powered by how we feel. It's powered by how we feel and inspired to shift our perspective on our challenges. So when we're shifting our perspective so we can shift our perception, what fuels that and keeps us in the momentum and motivation of it, and in the discipline of it and the rhythm of it, is how we feel about it. Because 9 times out of 10, what trumps everything you do in your life is how you feel about it. Now, for those that have self-discipline and you're in that rhythm day in and day out based on, more than just what you feel, congratulations to you. You are ahead of 90% of the population. Great job. Yet most of us are truly slaves to how we feel and our emotions because we haven't been taught how to regulate our emotions, and therefore our emotions have been regulating us. So it's key for us to get in tune with how we see so we can get in tune with how we feel, which dictates what we do. So I want to challenge you to identify an area where you've been trying to eliminate a problem without replacing it with a meaningful solution. Where have you been potentially avoiding something and saying, oh, it'll just go away, or I'll just do a quick fix on it real quick, but it's not really getting to the root of the problem? What have you been leaving on that back burner? What have you been procrastinating with? What have you been people pleasing with? What have you been allowing yourself to be taken advantage of? Where have you been letting your guard and your boundaries down? So therefore, you're left exhausted. So therefore, you're left depleted. So therefore, you're left with a lack of self-respect. We all go through it. It's no judgment here. Right here at MYCOL Academy, we're not judging, yet we do want to be honest, because as we can be honest, that's when the change happens. That's when the change starts. The more honest we can be with ourselves. So as we go through the presentation, I just want you to consider in your head, heart, and home, your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. How can you be more intentional with what it is you might be avoiding, and how we can shift that into a value? Cool? All right, let's get it. Let's get it. So what's interesting about today's presentation is that I wanted to relate it to a childhood story, which I wasn't a child when I came across this story, but I feel that there are so many deep underlining messages in these children's stories, and they're simple, they're animated, they grab your attention, they take you on this emotional journey, and they leave you better than you came when you know how to see in it and not just look at it. And what I mean by that is like the halftime performance with Kendrick. It's been blowing up on my threads, on my Facebook, on my Instagram, all the different messages people are pulling out of it because they were looking in it. Yet at the same time, I scroll on TikTok and I see so many people that are just looking at it. They're like, oh, it was mid. Oh, the music wasn't really all of that. And it's like, that's cool. If that's your experience, if that's your perception, I respect that. Yet at the same time, that man, that team, that halftime show was for the folks who are aware of what's going on, to be able to activate our energy. And I feel like that's the key that I've been pulling out of it. It's not just us looking at someone do their thing. It's how do we perform to that level of excellence in our own lives? How do we create those messages, create that art, and create that influence in our own daily actions? Because it wasn't just Kendrick that put that together. That was a team. Those were thousands of people that came together for one mission. Thousands of people are blowing up on the internet to make it the most watched halftime show ever. We talking about more than Michael Jackson, more than Beyonce, more than all of them. This was the most watched halftime show ever. And you know why that is so spectacular? It's because those thousands of people came together for one mission. Yet there are trillions of cells inside of you that are coming together for the one mission of you. Trillions. If thousands can create the most watched halftime show in history. What can the trillions of cells do inside of you? Mm, 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 mm. Anyways, coming back to the presentation though, Inside Out, it's a Disney movie where there's a young woman that grows up in her hometown and she's basically uprooted and moved to a whole nother city from Minnesota to San Francisco. And she goes through this emotional distress period to where she don't have connection to her friends, all the hobbies she did and all the different aspects that helped her feel familiar, gone. She's in a new city, new place, new home, new school. Nothing feels safe. And in the process, the story undergoes multiple perspectives. The perspective of what's actually taking place in the story, what's happening and taking place in the main character, Riley, and then what's happening in her mind. And in her mind, there are a few aspects that are key. We have joy, we have sadness, we have anger, we have fear, and we have disgust. 5 emotions. 5 emotions in the mind that are driving Riley's decision-making process. They're on the control board. What they say goes. Joy, sadness, disgust, fear, and anger. So as Riley, like I said, she's from Minnesota, moves to San Francisco because her pops get a new job, emotionally distressed in turmoil. And the response is her main emotion, the main driver in her mind is joy. And joy is light. Joy is bright. Joy loves happiness. Joy loves to smile. Joy loves to bring smile to other people's faces. She loves all of that. And a lot of Riley's core memories have been driven by joy. And a core memory is what helps build our sense of self. So a core memory could be like your first tooth coming out. Or your core memory could be your first birthday or your first friend or your first relationship. It could be all the things that, man, they light you up inside. Your core memory could be things that you don't consciously remember, but they're a part of your subconscious and make up who you are. Like your mother breastfeeding you. Or you hearing your father's voice in the womb. Whatever it could be. And in the process of this, when she moves to this new place, there's a bunch of mixture, like the smells. She went from the Minnesota being semi in the Midwest to going to the coast, and it's nasty, it's smelly, it's loud, it got all this pollution. And she's like, what's going on? Disgust is going crazy in her mind. Fear is going crazy in her mind. Anger is getting upset. I'm not like this. I'm not used to this. This ain't familiar. He calls him ruckus in that mug. Your joy is like, calm down. Everything's going to be all right. Let's look at the bright side of things. What Joy doesn't realize is that Riley is going through changes. And those changes are rooted in sadness. And instead of Joy allowing the sadness to bridge and make all the other emotions, fear, disgust, anger, run rampant, she's doing her best to contain it all and focus only on the positive. Focus only on the joy. And I know a lot of us can relate to this. It was once upon a time in my life, I only focused on the positivity. But what this does is it costs, because there's some suppression that goes on. So as Riley is feeling these natural emotions of things that are just uncomfortable, things that don't feel right, Joy is trying to push sadness aside. She literally, in Riley's mind, Joy literally draws a circle around sadness and say, this is the sadness circle. You have to stay in this circle so we can keep Riley happy. Because if Riley's not happy, her whole life is going to go down the toilet. And this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And we don't want that to happen. So sadness, you got to stay in this circle. How many of us have attempted to keep sadness in that circle? She was clumsy. She was clumsy. How many of us have attempted to keep sadness in that circle, in that silent bubble of no, you don't express yourself, you don't say anything, you don't do anything outside of this circle? How many of us have tried to stuff trauma deep down in the back of our mind? How many of us have wanted to look away when we see that homeless person? Because sadness isn't always yours. Sometimes it's on the outside. How many times have we seen sadness in the world, in our lives, in our homes, and wanted to avoid it and look the other way and not focus and give it presence and give it attention? I know I have. I know I have. And if you have too, then that's why we on this class. That's why we on this call. You say you the opposite. Oh, you embrace the sadness. You was with it. That was your best friend. Hey, that's what's up. You know, if that was you, that's what's up. The thing is, though, with joy, constantly suppressing sadness, keeping sadness in this circle, Riley a little too hard, though. Nah, for real. You know, because staying stuck in sadness, then you got no room for joy. But that's a whole different story. When joy kept sadness in that circle, there was a disconnection with Riley. She was disconnected from certain emotions that she felt. She wasn't allowed to fully express the extent of her color palette of emotions. We have all of these emotions and feelings for a reason. The more we can express, the more we can embrace. The more we can embrace, the more we can experience. And the more we experience, the more wisdom, the more life, and the more we're able to share, the more we're able to shed. It's a life-giving process. So the turning point comes when Riley is so fed up. She's been so disconnected that she's holding on to these tears and all of that anger, because how the chain reaction happened is the more we contain sadness, the more anger grows. The more fear grows, the more disgust grows. And as joy is attempting to contain all of these emotions, Riley is just bubbling up with all of this unexpressed emotion. She don't know what to do with it. And sadness feels all of this because each of these emotions are directly connected to Riley's subconscious. And sadness subconsciously just feels this pull that I gotta do something. I feel so much. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with me. She feels all of this and she's attracted to the core memories. She's attracted to the core memories. And the closer sadness gets to these core memories, they go from this light, yellow, bright, vibrant circle, this orb, to turning blue and becoming cold and becoming dark and no longer being vibrant. And Joy's like, wait, what you doing? Hold on. Take a step back, sadness. Stay in the circle. Stay in the circle. Read the handbook. Be preoccupied. Just read this book. Stay distracted. Stay distracted. Don't ask no questions about nothing outside of the circle. Just stay distracted. Read the books. Go to sleep inside the circle. And in the process of all of this, literally, this core memory ends up falling out of the track. And Joy is attempting to get it back on track. And in the process, this tube comes. And it's coming here to suck the memories that Riley wants to focus on back to the back of the mind. AKA the subconscious, AKA the 88% that controls our lives. And in the process of joy and sadness, fighting over this core memory, they get sucked up into that tube, into the back of the subconscious. And it leaves anger, fear, and disgust in control of Riley's mind. And I don't know about you, but whenever you leave fear, anger, and disgust in control, you feel everything but control. You get impulsive, you get reactive, you start just lashing out at any and everything. You can see a spider and your whole life jumping. You willing to lash and crash out and lash out at anybody that look at you wrong. What's up? What you want to do? I'm about that action. All of it. You stepped on my shoes. Come here. I'm with it. And that whole process starts to now turn Riley from this happy, friendly, joyful, expressive person into this shell. She starts to become more and more numb as she becomes disconnected from her joy and sadness because they're no longer in the control room. See, when we cut ourselves off from emotions, we cut ourselves off from ourselves. We cut ourselves off from our color. We cut ourselves off from our expression of who we are. Every emotion is a color. Who wants to paint with just one color? When you got the whole rainbow, the whole gamut to pull from. So a shift happens as as joy and sadness are in the back of the subconscious. As they're going through these different memories from childhood, from birth, from the first and this and that, the memories that get faded, the memories we don't think about all the time. The memories of when you had that dream, and that dream was you wanted to be this, or you wanted to do that. Or you had that friend that always showed up with this or that, or you had that toy, or you had that talk, or you had that experience, the ones you don't think about anymore. See, joy comes across an experience of sadness. But when she allowed that memory to play out fully, because a lot of times, just like with fear, we see fear in a window. But when we expand our view, the window has so many more lessons through the other side. And that's exactly what joy did. Instead of just looking at the short-term memory of it, she went to the long-term. In the long-term memory, she was able to see like, oh, there was more to this memory. Yeah, it started with sadness, but that sadness led to a connection. That sadness led to friendship. That sadness led to grace and forgiveness. That sadness actually led to future moments of joy. Wait, so you mean to tell me this is joy? You mean to tell me this whole time I thought sadness was a burden when really she's been a bridge? And then on top of that, the only way they were able to navigate, because joy and sadness this whole time are trying to get back to headquarters, back to the mind, back to the conscious, because they're stuck in the subconscious. They're trying to get back to the light, back to the 12%. You're telling me this whole time, because sadness was in that circle, sleep and distracted, only reading the books, the code of conduct books, that sadness was the only one that could navigate Riley's subconscious. She's the only one that knew the way. She had the map. She had the key. Joy was so focused on the outer experience. Sadness was the only one that knew the internal roadmap of Riley. So imagine your trauma that you've pushed in the back of your mind. Some of that knows you best because it's been staying in the dark, being able to see everything from your shadow. And there's so much that happens in the light, but your shadow sees all. Your shadow sees all. So Joy finally realizes that sadness isn't a problem. Sadness is necessary for healing, connection, and deep emotional growth. Sadness is necessary for deep emotional growth. So your trauma, your trials, your tribulations, your abuse, your neglect, your dysfunction are all necessary for healing, connection, and deep emotional growth. Because just like when we avoid and we want to push things away, what we resist persists. So as you're attempting to avoid something, you're actually creating a deeper void for the darkness to travel through. Because out of the darkness comes light when we allow our presence to be in the moment. Out of that darkness comes the light. That's what we are. That's what we do. Welcome back in, bro. Welcome back in. So in that process, where are you avoiding things? How are you creating a space, a void? That's what a black hole is. It's a void that sucks all of this energy through to a whole nother dimension. And that whole nother dimension inside of you is your subconscious. Those trillions of cells are controlled by your subconscious more than your conscious mind. Come on. Come on. So what can we do? What do we do with this void? Because the same things that leave us people-pleasing, procrastinating, seeking perfectionism, or crashing out and lashing out on folks are the same areas we've avoided. Because when you spend time and you really sit with and you move with and you stand in that sadness, not staying there, but standing in it to gain a new perspective, then you're able to move through it instead of it moving you. You're able to move to it. Instead of it moving you, you're able to use it as momentum to move on instead of it moving on you. So what we can do is we can open up. So many of us want to stay silent in our sadness. So many of us want to stay silent in that circle of sadness, and it keeps us stuck. When you stay in your own circle of sadness and silent, it keeps you stuck. And it keeps you just like Riley, that's just bubbling up with all this expression, but nowhere to go. When you look at a volcano, it's building up from the inside. That magma is building up from the inside until it no longer has space on the inside. So what does it do? What does it do? It erupts. It erupts. And that's where you get the volcanoes that are coming out and they're releasing and they're letting everything go. But if you don't have a place to direct that energy, you combust, which means you burst from the inside. And that leads to dis-ease, that leads to stress, that leads to all the things that lead to the big D. And we know what the big D is. We ain't gonna say it for the folks who are on TikTok, but you know what I'm talking about. The big D is the permanent sleep. And it's time for us to wake up. We've been asleep too long. We've been asleep way too long. We've been distracted way too long. It's time for us to wake up so we can release. In order to release, we got to open up though. We got to share how we feel with who we feel safe with. Whether it's your dog, whether it's your cat, whether it's the trees, whether it's your mom, whether it's your pop, whether it's your sibling, whether it's a friend, whether it's yourself. You can open up with yourself. Just don't keep it on the inside though. Don't keep that emotion. Don't keep that energy. Don't keep that expression. Don't keep that color on the inside. The world deserves your paint. The world deserves your picture. The world deserves your vision. You deserve your vision. You deserve your color. You deserve your picture. You deserve it all. You know, real quick, going back to Kendrick in the halftime show, leading up to the show, he had an interview where he was riding around in his GNX and he said, in every single album, there's one song. And every single album he releases, there's one song that he really feels is the core message that he wants the audience to receive. And the album for GNX this time around was Man at the Garden. And the one phrase he said the most out of that one song on that one album was, I deserve it all. The good, the bad, in between, I deserve it all. The light, the dark, everything else, I deserve it all. The life, the big D, everything, I deserve it all. I deserve it all. I deserve it all. Because it's not until you're able to get into a certain level of vulnerability, which is what he did on the last album, Mr. Morale. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. That's where he was able to share his shadow, shine his shade on Mr. Morale so he could step out on G and X, say, yeah, homie, this big me, this everything I feel, the darkness and the light. It's all me. It's all in me. It's all on me. Yet it don't move me. I move with it. By him going to therapy, by him talking to God, by him having those vulnerable experiences, he was able to move through the emotions. He was able to navigate the sadness. He was able to navigate the subconscious so he could come out on the light and he could beat the giant of Drake. He could beat the giant of the Super Bowl. He could beat the critics. How are you going to beat your giant if you ain't expressing your gamut? Your gamut of colors, your gamut of expression, your gamut of who you truly are on the inside. You gotta love it all. You gotta know it all. You gotta see it all. You gotta feel it all. And as men, as melanated men, that is not taught in our households. They say, man up. They say, stop crying. They say, be a man about it. Stop being Stop being Be a man. Yet when I dive deeper into what manhood truly means to me, it's about a certain level of vulnerability and being able to move through it. Because whenever you avoid something, it creates a bigger void of something. And when you avoid something, it creates values and things that really aren't valuable. Because when you didn't receive validation as a child, you end up seeking validation from the outside. And it's never enough. And it's never enough. You are more than your voids. You are more than your values. Together, though, together, they create something so beautiful beyond the void and beyond the value. And through that is where that velocity comes of transformation, change, momentum, wins, losses, experiences, wisdom, and everything that you deserve, because you deserve it all. And I deserve it all. Come on. So as we're going through that valley, the subconscious, as we're going through that valley, that void, as we're going through that valley of abuse, as we're going through that valley of neglect, as we're going through that valley of dysfunction, as we're going through that valley of people don't understand, as we're going through that valley amongst judging us, as we're going through that valley of lack of validation, as we're going through that valley of everything that brings you sadness, of everything that brings you fear, of everything that brings you discomfort, as everything that brings you disgust and anger, as you're going through that valley, remember that that is the path to the peak. Your valley is the only path to the peak, because everywhere else is going to lead you on a detour of distractions that never lead you to your destination. You got to stay on the path of the valley to get to the peak. There's only one road up a mountain. And it's through your voids. It's through what you want to avoid that lead to the valley of the peak and the peak of the valley. You know, whenever you study monks, whenever you study the spiritual gurus, they talk about the main journey is about ascension, spiritual ascension, a spiritual peak. And it's not the trophies, it's not the accolades, it's not the Grammys, it's not the Super Bowl, it's not the validation. It's the peace and pleasure that you feel and that you experience on the inside. Because what? I deserve it all. I deserve it all. It's on the inside where it lives. You ascend internally, and then you explore and express externally. That's where it truly comes. It comes through us. Heaven comes through us. My mentor says, heaven is my right and heaven is my responsibility, because it comes through us. We are the key for God on this earth. God comes through us on this earth. We so busy praying to God, can you help me? Can you get rid of this sadness? Can you pay my bills? Can you do this? Can you do that? Nothing wrong with that. Talk to your maker. Do what you do. Talk to your coach so you can get the play. But remember, heaven, yes, heaven is my right and heaven is my responsibility, which means heaven is my peace and heaven is my pleasure. So it means I get to decide. I get to decide. I ain't got to. I don't have to. I get to. I get to go on this path of the valley to reach my peak. That's where coach is giving me the play. Coaches, I handed you a valley for your peak, my child. I granted you your path of the valley so you could receive the peak and the pleasure. Yet how will you ever reach your peak if you never explore your valleys? Exactly, TikTok T, they are gifts. Our valley, our voids are gifts for our peace, for our pleasure. They are blessings. And that sadness is a bridge. There was no way Joy would have ever made it back to headquarters if she didn't work with sadness. Let's say sadness would have stayed in that circle and something happened and Joy got sucked away into the subconscious. Joy could have been stuck forever. And then it just would have been sadness, fear, anger, and disgust in the mind, which is where a lot of people are operating from the politics, from the news. That's fear. From the homelessness, from the trash, from the pollution. It's disgust. From things not going right in your life and you feeling like you're not getting the validation and you're not getting the money and you're not getting this. It's anger. And all of that leads to stress. And what does the stress lead to? Sadness. Imagine if that's all you experienced. But the key was joy, because joy was the leader of these emotions. We all need a leader in our lives. You get to decide. Who is your leader? You gonna let fear lead? You gonna let sadness lead? You gonna let anger lead? You gonna let disgust lead? You gonna let joy lead? I'm not saying any of those are the problem. Yet it's just like TikTok T said, it's all about our perspective, because they each have something for us to learn. And the key is integration, not elimination. Learning how to let my heart lead. I know that's right. Right from the core. Come on. Emotional growth comes from embracing all emotions, not by trying to eliminate some. Being in that childlike spirit again. I know that's right. Come on. I love it. See, Riley's ability to feel sadness allows her to feel real and deep joy. Not the superficial toxic positivity. Everything's going to be great all the time. And even when the hardship comes, I'm just going to focus on the positive. Yes, that works. I've experienced. Optimism is a real thing. You attract what it is that you become, and you become what you attract. TikTok doing what TikTok do. Ooh. Hold on. They want me to do this puzzle. Hold on. All right, there we go. Everybody kick me off. Hold on. We'll wrap this up, though. We almost done. Put a 1 in the comments if y'all resonating with this, though. If this is making sense. Drop a 1 in the comments. So we need sadness. We need fear. We need anger. We need all of it because it allows us. I see you. I feel you. All right, cool. We need all of it because it allows us to be in a space of integration, not elimination. When we eliminate emotions, we eliminate expression. And when we eliminate expression, we eliminate crucial parts of ourselves. And the key is to be whole. The key is to be full. The key is to be one. Because we deserve it all. That is the main message that Kendrick wanted us to learn from the halftime show and from the album of GNX. It wasn't the beef. It wasn't I got the bars. It wasn't the samples. It wasn't if I sold this, I did this. It was an affirmation to remind us as we sing that song I deserve it all. That's the main message. Everything else is that's cool. That's art. It's aesthetic. It's cool. But the true message is not the art. It's not the aesthetic. It's the affirmation that as you are walking in your life, remember, I deserve it all. The whole color palette, the joy, the sadness, the fear, the childlike version of myself, my higher self that's supreme, that's godly, that's royalty. I deserve it all. Even the middle version of me that's attempting to piece it all together. I deserve it all. That's what this is about. So instead of attempting to avoid what's going on, we get to create space in the void to explore our inner world. And that inner world leads to the why. Why does this void exist? Why did I want to avoid it? Well, how did it get created? Why? And when we ask ourselves those questions, they lead to a deeper understanding. And that deeper understanding leads to a deeper understanding. And that understanding is we are not able to erase or ignore the struggle. We cannot erase or ignore the valley. Yet we do get to intentionally integrate. We get to intentionally integrate and implement new experiences, new perspectives, new perceptions, new appreciations for our emotions, for our experiences that create something truly valuable. Because whenever you just want to remove the void, what happened? What you resist persists. It keeps growing in that direction. Because remember, our subconscious is 88%. So all the things you're throwing in the 88, it's like, oh, you're feeding me more of what you want. Here you go. Oh, more in the 88? Here you go. More in the subconscious? Here you go. Let me give you some more of that. You want seconds? You want thirds? Let me give you the whole pot. That's how the subconscious works. The more you feed it, the more it feeds you. And it eats it all. The good, the bad, everything in between. The subconscious eats it all because it knows the subconscious operates in the law of I deserve it all. Come here. I deserve it all. Put it in the pot. I deserve it all. And I'm going to give it right back to you. Tenfold. I'm going to grow your seeds tenfold. Yet when we're able to harmonize what it is we feel and be like, I don't want to avoid this sadness. I want to embrace and appreciate the sadness. I don't want to avoid this fear. I want to learn more about why this fear exists and what I can do about it. I don't want to avoid this anger. I want to integrate it. I want to use that anger and turn it into passion and turn it into purpose and do something with it. I don't want to ignore this disgust. I want to understand what about it. What about the void of disgust? It's something that leads me in the void I don't want to discuss. Why? What about it? When we dive deeper into it, then we can learn more about, oh, there's value in the void. There's value in the void. And through that action, there's transformation. So ask yourself, what emotional struggle in your life? Come on, it all begins in the spiritual realm first. Yes, T. All of it is internal first. Man, woman, other, whatever you identify as, it all happens on the inside first. Through whatever change and whatever transformation or whatever stagnicity you might be experiencing. It starts in the subconscious, it starts in you. It starts in your feminine energy first. How you feel. Not what the world sees, how you feel first. And then the world sees it later. So ask yourself, what's an emotional struggle in your life that you've only tried to eliminate rather than integrate? What's an emotional struggle in your life that you've attempted to eliminate instead of integrate? And we say emotional because this week we're dealing with the feminine. We're going into Valentine's Day. I know a lot of people are going to be like, I don't got this, or they didn't give me this, da 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 da. All this external love. When really all of that is internal first. How do we feel about ourselves? How do we love ourselves? What's our relationship with ourselves? Before you go looking for anybody else to love on you. How are you loving on you? How am I loving on me? Because I deserve it all. I deserve it all. And then as you see how you can integrate what you might have been eliminating, now challenge yourself to build in the bridge of values with that void. There's a fine line of a bridge between the void and the value. And that's where our experiences are lived. It's not all peaks and it's not all valleys. Every peak has a valley and every valley has a peak. Every void has a value and every value has a void. And that's why we're on this. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to touch further on. I definitely went over in the hour, but if anybody wants to come up and speak on this, any voids that you can now see as value or any values that might be having some voids, hey, let me know. This is our space and time where we get to, no, you good. Let me know, because that could be something that we could discuss, because I know one thing about our values and our voids is that's why we're here together, is that my values can light up somebody else's voids and their voids could be lighting up my values. So we're all here to learn together. We're all puzzle pieces in this game of life. Come on. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen on the thing. Come on. And Black Cherokee, shout out to you. I'm gonna shout out to everybody in the chat and just show some love. Shout out to TikTok T. She is a herbalist. She is a healer. She is a divine goddess that is here to teach us about like our body's belief and its ability to thrive and heal from the inside first, through herbalism, through belief work, through everything that keeps us true to who we truly are. Not what the medical system says, not what the doctors say, not what them folks say. And we know what their intentions are. She's all about how do we rebirth our body's ability to heal and thrive from the inside first, because that's where it starts. Then we got my boy Lawrence. I just came across his page probably about a month or so ago. We ended up following one another. And he's a dope individual, 19 years old, that's on this mindset work. I said, come on, coach. I literally cleared out my feed and I cleared out my subconscious on my algorithm of my social feed. And what did it do? It started feeding me the people that was speaking the language that I'm speaking. And that's where my boy, Mr. Notorious, aka Lawrence, came through, and he be speaking that message. Come on, Sonya. Sonya on TikTok. I came across her. She on YouTube, but I met her through another gentleman's live by the name of Chris that does a lot of neurology work. And she's someone that she's showing up and doing the work. She been here. This is episode 3. She been here all 3 episodes, live in full effect. And then we got Black Cherokee. She's the one that taught me about the subconscious and the conscious and the 88% and the 12%. She helped me see my beliefs from a whole different perspective. And we got the same birthday, so that's a whole nother situation going on. But she helps people in their belief patterns. She helps you on a genetic level, on a historical level, on a soul level, and on a core level. Shift your limits and beliefs with yourself. So everybody that's on this call, that's on this frequency, we all, come on, birthday sis, we all have a part to play in this game of life. We all have different pieces, from the mind to the body, to the belief, to the heart, to the spirit, to the soul, to the work. And as we continue to work on ourselves, we can work on one another. Come on. So let me know if y'all got any comments or questions. I'll stay on till about 2:15-ish. If y'all don't, we can cut it earlier, but I appreciate you all being here, man. We do these every week, Master My Mindset. And it's a space where I was inspired. Coach inspired me and said, with the times that we're going into, my people gonna need a space where we can come get the real. We can come talk about the real, and we can really heal and build from the men, women, and everything and everybody in between. So as I'm healing, I'm opening up the space for us to heal. Because this is not me saying I know everything, I'm the best. No, this is my research. This is what I'm learning. I'm testing these things out with myself. Because instead of doing what the generation before us did, the generation before us was all like, you go learn, you go apply, you go fail, you go fly, and then you teach. I respect that. Yet I know it's folks that can learn from what I'm going through right now. Because I know I'm learning from what I'm going through right now. And why would I wait? Why would I wait to be great when I can build as I heal? I can heal as I build. I can integrate, not eliminate. And the more that I show up, the more that I attract the energy that's helping me do just that. When I'm looking at Lawrence page on Instagram, it reminds me, you know what? He right. I do got to get in that self-control. You right. I do got to make sure I'm aligned with my emotions. Don't let it take control of me. You right. How we see our situation is everything. And we got T right here, TikTok T. Keep it simple, T, that liver love. That's where anger is stored. I'm learning from her that anger is stored in the liver. So you can emotionally and mentally shift your perspective, but how about them organs? How about them glands? How about that body part? For real. And then Black Cherokee, it's all about how do you tap into that 88% of the subconscious? How do you get up in there? How do you get up in that void and shift it to a value? So, I'm so thankful for the tribe that I'm attracting by me doing the work with myself, in myself, on myself, for myself, so I can share that with my folks. Come on. You'll be joining to speak on that. Come on through, bro. I might be able to invite you up. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. Now we got it popping.
Come on. How you feeling, bro?
Fantastic. Like, I was listening through, and one of the things that really jumped out to me was this idea that the things you avoid create a void. So naturally, everyone wants to feel happy all the time. Mm-hmm. We want to only feel the good emotions. But if we only felt good, we wouldn't know what it feels like because we don't know what sadness is. It's kind of like the definition of hot is the opposite of cold. And the definition of cold is the opposite of hot. Mm-hmm. If you never experienced pain and sadness, you'll never experience happiness because you don't know what to compare it to.
Right.
A big thing I've noticed, though, is that a lot of people get stuck in the sadness because you get used to it. If your lights are getting cut off and there's no food in the refrigerator, there's a comfort in that because you know exactly what to expect tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't like it, but at least you know it. But when things get good, that can be scary because it's unfamiliar. I don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know. You know this is a good feeling, but you don't know what comes with this.
Right.
And with that, a lot of people will run back to something they know is bad for them, but it's familiar.
Right.
With Valentine's Day, perfect example, toxic relationships. You know this person disrespecting you, putting their hands on you, doing all this stuff is bad for you. But if this is what you experience throughout life, you know what's going to happen tomorrow. 8 p.m., they're going to walk through this door, they're going to smell a certain way, they're going to do something to you, and they're going to do it again tomorrow.
But you can count on it.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen. But when you leave that situation and you with somebody who's taking care of you, they're respectful, they're treating you right, you know this is good, but you're so used to the negative that when you experience the positive, you run back to the negative.
That's where the generational traumas come in. That's where I slide right on through. Right?
Speak on it.
Yep.
The generational traumas come in because it's not just a habit that you innately take on from the core belief, which is the 12% that MYCOL talks about, but it's also the trauma that has been embedded into your soul from your family. And if it's something that you're used to seeing in your family, it's a trigger that's kind of hard to let go of because that is your normal. That is your comfort. Yeah. So when people try to break away and they walk into this space where they are, walking into this new, they're literally walking into a new from letting go of their familiar ways in regards to their family. Right. So when you're doing this, it's scary because nobody, one, has ever shown you what it looks like to have like these healthy lifestyles in whatever way, shape, or form, be it mental or be it physical or be it, emotional. If you don't know these things, if you've never seen those things, then you're navigating in waters like, what you were doing, navigating in waters that you don't know anything about. And that's scary. And so the reality is when you look at that and you're like, wow, I'm navigating in waters that I'm not familiar with. Nobody else can guide me through this. What am I supposed to do? You don't have resources. You don't know where to go because you're in something brand new. And MYCOL was saying earlier, when it comes down to teaching something, like in my generation, because I'm part of the generation that's before MYCOL. And he's talking about how we went out and got knowledge and we learned it and then we taught. And now the change is teaching while going through it. And that's also a good thing as well. But being open to receive that is something totally different because when you teach while you're going through it, that's how you obtain resources. Right. But a lot of times when you teach and you learn, then you think you're an expert in that and you don't realize that you can utilize your resources. So it's a balance when it comes down to those things, in my opinion. But everything that you were saying is actually absolutely right. But it does deal with the traumas that we are working on in ourselves that we need to look back upon and actually clean out the clutter because we get so used to being distracted. We want to be distracted because if we're not distracted, if we're not distracted, then we're forced to look at our lives. We're forced to look at the things that we need to fix. And so we utilize those distractions as our coping mechanisms in order for us to move forward, in order for us not to move forward. Therefore, we end up being stagnant. And in that, as you were stating earlier, is where we make the choice of being stagnant. And we don't want to move forward, but we don't realize that in the stagnation, the things that we're looking at is growing pains and everything has to grow. And in growth, we all have to face the pains. Some of us don't want to face pains. Therefore, we don't want to grow.
Come on.
Yeah. I think actually it's when you mentioned the family part of it, if no one in your family has done this, no one in your family has grown to a certain point, you don't even have people around you to ask about this kind of stuff. You got to go out there and find them. And also, as you're growing and you're changing, that can seem scary to them as well, because now you seem like a different person. They don't know this version of you. And in that growth, you have to essentially start to detach yourself from everything you've ever known. If you want a good relationship, but you've never seen one, you got to detach yourself from all the relationships that you've seen with your family. If you want to improve with your money, but you've never seen good money habits, you got to detach yourself from the money habits of everyone around you. And you got to go out and find what you want, because there's people like all of us who we want to teach it. All you got to do is ask. All you have to do is ask. And with the internet, now you can just ask the question, how do I XYZ? And you'll get an answer. Yeah, and sometimes, there's people who try to take advantage and take advantage of those who don't know. So they'll sell false information. And that makes even more people revert back to the old world because they think they're in the water with only sharks, when actually there's people who are trying to help you navigate the water because either they've done it or they might just be one step ahead of you. So the hardest part is really just the detachment and not going back to the old world when it starts calling your name.
Come on.
It might be, just decluttering and removing yourself from the temptation. And it's going to show back up in your life. Maybe that could be an ex calling your phone who you haven't spoken to in years. But for some reason, right when you decide you're going to get your act together, that phone start ringing.
Hey, big head.
Yeah, it might be, it might be a new bar just opened up on your block that right after you decide you're going to stop being alcoholic. It might be gambling. It could be binge watching Netflix. It could be anything. We think of the big things, but there's all these little normalized sufferings and distractions that are put in front of us to keep us from becoming aware. Because once you know, you can't unknow.
Come on.
Absolutely.
Just consider how your attention is the biggest commodity ever.
Facts.
Super Bowl commercial. They pay millions of dollars per second to get your attention. So that just goes to show the value of your attention. Companies spend millions of dollars to figure out every single possible way to get it. Netflix. They have over 16,000 different ways they measure attention. So they are hyper optimized on getting you to binge watch it. The colors of social media apps look like candy. Just take one day and set your phone on black and white. Notice how much less you'll pick it up. Then turn it back on and you notice how bright, vivid, sweet pink, inviting purples, reds and blues, and not just red or blue, but an exact shade of it. Now, then you look at how people become comfortable in that suffering because it's all they've known.
Right.
And on that bridge, you have to, it's not just you're here and then you're here. No, it's a very messy process. And in that process, you got to face down all the demons that all the generation before you didn't. That could be stress. It could be anger issues. It could be addiction. It could be family struggles. When you decide you're going to cross that bridge, you can't go back. If you go back, all hell will rain loose in your life. Because once you've decided to separate yourself, it's not a one-time thing. It's daily. Every day, temptation will present itself. Every day, somebody, something will try to pull you back.
Come on.
And you have to say, no, this is my truth. My truth is I'm not doing that. I'm not that type of person. When you know better, things get real. Yes, Because once you know and you have that awareness in yourself, you know I'm not supposed to do this. A baby can get away with anything because they don't know. Somebody who isn't aware of how bad their actions are, mentally, they can get away with it because they just don't know. And the more we know, the more we start to realize that the whole world isn't even just governed by what can be seen. That's what can be seen at the 12%, like you said.
Right.
But what's really governing it is the subconscious.
Come on.
And to people who aren't aware of that, saying something like your thoughts create your reality, they think it's just this woo-woo spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
But no, just think about how you ever be thinking of someone like a specific person, and for some reason, right then, they message you. That's that 88%.
Come on.
Your thoughts create actual energetic vibrations in your brain, which sends out signals to the environment, which align to the things on that same frequency.
Come on.
This is how radios work. The tower sends out a signal. Your car received the signal. You tuned in your radio to it, and now you hear what's being played.
Yep. It's being programmed.
Yes. That's why it's called programming.
Yep.
And television. I'm telling you, a vision. Everything programming you. It's just about what do you want to be programmed with.
Come on.
You can't detach from programming itself because even the act of detachment of programming is programming.
Facts.
But you get to decide, do I want to listen to the sky is falling down and all these chaotic things and the world just falling apart? Or do I want to listen to, yeah, problems exist, but there's also good stuff.
Come on.
Like the sun is shining. You know, in my city, there was actually, I would love it. Oh, I completely understand. Yeah, because in my city, we had 3 plane crashes. Keep in mind, the last time this ever happened was like 25 years ago. And that's something that a lot of people are fearful of. Now people don't want to get on planes. There's a lot of chaos happening about that. But you can be aware of the chaos, but not attach yourself to it.
Right.
You know, bad stuff happens, but that does not mean I need to view the world through the lens of only the bad stuff.
Come on.
You got to see the whole picture.
Come on. I deserve it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with deserving it all, that means that you can't just only focus on one thing. I know for myself, when I came into this kind of knowledge, I was only trying to focus on the most positive, the most energetic stuff. I detached myself from anyone and anything I perceived as negative. But in order for there to be light, there must also be dark.
Facts.
And the brighter the light you have in yourself, in turn, the same capacity for darkness you have.
Come on.
You know, we could use words to inspire and uplift people and bring them to higher levels. But when you have that power to bring them all the way up here, you also got the power to bring them all the way down here.
Yep.
You can use physical strength to protect people, to do construction, to build, but you can also use it to destroy. The same way you make a nuke to destroy a city is the same way you use the atoms to power the city.
Facts.
It's all about deciding what are we going to do with our power.
Come on.
I just went off.
Come on. I love it, bro. And I'm so glad you said that, because it's like, that's the whole purpose, like, of today's class. It's like, with the valleys, with the peaks, with the voids and the values, energy is not created nor destroyed. So it's all about, what do you want to do with the void? What do you want to do with the value? What are you going to do on your valley? What are you going to do on your peak? Because you can make it to the mountaintop, and we've seen so many fall. Because the journey up there had intentions outside of who they truly are. So they end up turning into somebody that didn't resemble who they wanted to see in the mirror. So by the time all the lights shining and refracted that mirror, that vision to them, they didn't like who they saw. That's when they turned to substances, drugs, abuse, XYZ. And now we see them doing egregious things. But it's like, you have the same power to use that influence, like Kendrick is, to put those messages in the media to empower the people, that the people have the power. It's not Kendrick got the power. It's us. It's us. We have the power. And so we're going to have to wrap it up soon. But I love this, bro, because it's like, this is exactly why I wanted to create these spaces and be a part of them, because it's like, we need more conversations to help people be aware. The first step is that awareness, because before you can do anything about it, you have to just be aware and know that it exists. And then know that it exists, now you can make a decision with it.
Yeah. And with that, we also have to be mindful to, like, not throw people into the deep end. Because they're not ready for that.
Right.
You know, we can tell them this exists, but we can't take you there until you've gone and dipped your toes in. Well, even before dipping your toes in, you got to look at the pool, go through the gate, step your toes in, and then work your way into fully swimming.
Come on.
Because if people go too deep in too fast, they'll go crazy. Because now they're aware that, hold up, this whole world, this 3D, this soda can I'm holding, that's not really a soda can. That's atoms and particles and energy that are vibrating in a way that form a soda can.
They're going to be like, wait, what you talking about? Soda? Atoms? What?
And then my little brother always like turning my light off. But and even just off that, you know, you can even go deep. The entire concept of a soda can is made up in your mind. Give a baby a can and ask them, what is this? I don't know. It just is what it is. So this is something I try to be mindful of with my content, where I can go very in depth on things, but I try to explain it where people can grasp it without having to already go through the journey before. I help you start it. I don't help you finish it, because you never finished it. Right. You think you got to the top of the mountain, but you realize, oh no, I just climbed a mountain. Right. There's a bigger mountain. But to go to the bigger mountain, you have to go to a bigger depth. And then you go up and you go deeper, and then you go even higher. And you just do this on and on and on.
Come on.
But the things that you overcame before have now given you the strength to overcome what is to come.
Yes.
Like, have you ever seen how gold is tested?
No, how's it tested?
So what they do is they scratch it, they put acid on it, and they burn it. And what that does is it removes all the impurities. It tells you how pure the gold is. And it also does if it's even real. Because you can have gold-plated jewelry, and under it is copper.
Right.
Are you really who you are on the outside? On the outside, we can be anything. But if I scratch a little bit off you, are you gold under that, or are you copper? How much, like how pure of gold are you? Are you only who you claim to be, in one room, like pastors in front of the pulpit, they're all holy, but some of them,
Behind the
you
closed
go
doors.
you go to the club, you see them.
Right.
You see them taking money out the pit.
Mm-hmm.
You see them on the corner slanging.
Right.
So on Sunday, you Mr. Godly, but on Monday, you throwing ones. Now, that's not to say that he's not that at all.
Right.
He's only that on the surface in this one place.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to go through that, in order to fully embrace who you are in every room, under every circumstance, you got to do that dark shadow work and dig deep into that subconscious.
Come on.
Because that subconscious is the 88% of the core, but your 12% is the gold plating. Anybody can be gold plated, but to be gold at the core, you got to go through that fire and that acid and the scratch test. Everybody wants to be 24 karat, but not everybody's willing to do the process.
Come on. I love it, bro. Like I said, my phone on 4%, bro. But we got to do this again next week, same time if you available.
Absolutely.
Bro. Man, this is the knowledge people need, bro. And I'm so thankful you joined T, Black Cherokee. And speaking of shadow work, that's literally why on the weekends, we're leading a shadow work group. It's called Shine My Shade. And where we walking through people through the different energy centers from their root all the way to their crown, dealing with fear, all the way to detachment. Like, how can we practically do these things day in and day out? Because, you know, being aware of it is one thing, but actually doing the work is a whole nother journey. Going through the acid, going through the burning, going through the breaking, so we can really see what the purity is in that void that we truly do value. Now we can be valuable because we know who we truly are in all areas, in all arenas. So I appreciate you joining, bro. This has been a pleasure, man.
Of course.
Come on. I'll see you next week, bro.
Yep.
Peace.
Have a good one.
Come on. That's my boy Lawrence. Make sure you go follow him if you're watching the replay. What's your Mr. Notorious on Instagram and TikTok, right?
Yep. It's Mr. Notorious on Instagram, NOT Oreo US. Notorious University on TikTok, NOT Oreo US _ University.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Make sure you go follow him. Follow TikTok T, aka Keep It Simple T, for all your herbal needs. And follow Black Cherokee if you want to work on your belief system, aka the 88%. And you can find me everywhere at MyCOL or MYCOL Academy. I appreciate you all tuning in. This is a live stream we're going to be doing every single Wednesday on a Mercury day at a Mercury hour to master our mindset. My name is MyCOL. I appreciate you all being here. Peace.
Good one.
Wowzers. Come on, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. This has been beautiful. I'm going to make sure that my phone saves everything. So I'm going to get this mug on a charger. But again, like I just said there, I appreciate you all being here. It's been a beautiful experience. If you have any questions, comments, or topics that you love for us to dive deeper into on these Master My Mindset masterclasses, feel free to email me. Feel free to comment. You can email me at mycolacademy@gmail.com. That's mycolacademy@gmail.com. Or you can go to mycolacademy.com. Send me a message there. Come on, T, still here. I appreciate it. And let me know what you all want to talk about. You know, each week I have things that I would love to bring to you all. Yet if there's things that you all want to dive deeper into, I'd love to do some research, do some lessons, and potentially pull on guests that are also doing the work and also have that knowledge. Because I don't know everything, yet I do know that my network is very valuable and very worthy. So if I don't know it, I reach out to my folks. And if they don't know it, then we're going to find out together. All right. Appreciate you all spending some time with me on this Wednesday. I pray you all enjoy the rest of your week and happy Valentine's Day. And make sure that you remind yourself, I deserve it all. Peace.